Should I listen to my feelings or what's inside my head? Should I act on what's inside my heart or analyze it instead? It's hard to know the answers. Guess I never learned the rules through the things they never teach in school.
Right from wrong,
wrong from right.
Every couple has their intimate moments. And I'd like to tell you about one intimate moment that William and I shared. It was right after the diagnosis, one of those little things, a very intimate form of communication that goes on between lovers, married couples, possibly any two people in a long-standing intimate relationship, and almost always behind closed doors. I remember one man who talked to his wife's toes, telling them all the news of the day. I have worked with any number of couples that have named their genitals, Peter and Patter, for instance. It is not erotic, merely the kind of tender, childlike things that some couples do. Many couples speak in baby talk, and bits of it sometimes slip out in the company of friends at dinner, such as, "Pass me the salt, Boopsie," but others have no idea of its full extent when they're not around. For us, it made no difference if people are around or not, because they would not have noticed its subtlety. William and I would extend the forefinger of a hand and lightly touch the tip of the other's forefinger. The tips of our fingers would join for only a second, representing our union, our feelings of love and intimacy, our sharing the moment, a reaffirmation of everything we meant to one another. Buzz, we both said at the moment of contact, the verbal representation of the voltage shared between us. We would often buzz when we made up after an argument and when we took the animals to dinner. We had bought a couple of stuffed animals on a trip to Provincetown. One was a baby shark named Wimpy, the other a red lobster hen puppet called Cranky. Wimpy was a timid shark. The story, as William told it, was that Wimpy was a baby shark who refused to bite people. His parents were very upset about this, afraid that he would grow up to be a sissy shark that could not feed himself. So they decided to send Wimpy to biting school with the other young sharks, and where he would learn how to take a good bite out of people swimming in the water. Wimpy refused to go. "I want to go to ballet school and learn to dance on point," he said to his horrified parents, who locked him in his room. Cranky, incidentally, had no story. He was all attitude, tough, ready to confront anyone unfair to lobsterdom. We often ate at the Bello, one of our favorite Italian restaurants on the Upper West Side, with the puppets in hand. Table for four, I would say, to the maitre d' who knew the routine. When the waiter arrived, I would put Cranky on my hand and interview him. "Have you been cooking any of my friends here?" If he said no, and they always said no, William, who had been sitting quietly with Wimpy, would say, "Don't believe him, get the chef." A minute later, the chef would arrive and get into a conversation with Cranky about being kind to lobsters. And Cranky said, "Even a lobster has a mother, you know." All this to the amusement of the other diners, one of whom one evening sent a beer over to our table for Cranky. Needless to say, children surrounded us and talked to Cranky, who occasionally tried to bite off their nose. He said we needed for the soup. After fun times like these, one or the other would extend the forefinger, buzz. It must have been William who originated this unique and powerful sign of our relationship. He would never hold hands in public, but buzz was perfect precisely because of its privacy. We might both be reading on the couch when one or the other would extend a forefinger. The other would meet the touch and buzz. Then we would go back to whatever we were doing, fed by the private symbolic act. The occasional buzz meant the world to me, a simple moment in time when the outside world was banished from my consciousness.
School 12 years. Still I got all these questions that could fill an overflowing pool.